anymore. Now I'm just going out there, having confidence in the plays, and just strictly reading the defense. What are other major differences for him, EA?
Well, you just said it. It's such a big difference from last year where he is at this point, because last year you get a play call and maybe he's thinking about the formation or what way is the play going and all the intricacies offensively. That's done now. Adam Gase starts spitting out a play call, and Darnold is already thinking, what's going on with the defense? I'm going to get my mic check. I'm going to assign protections up front. He's going to communicate with Conor Mcgovern. And Adam Gase said it yesterday that you can see in little things like how quickly he's dropping back, because there is no indecisiveness. And he's not being indecisive at all. He's dropping back. He's surveying the landscape, and he's getting rid of the football. And we've talked about the leadership that he continues to show out here in year 3. Remember, Sam Darnold is a rookie, 3 years, 3 different systems. Well, now this year, second consecutive year in Adam Gase's system.
When you look at a lot of quarterbacks around the league, a lot of them have made a big jump in that 3rd year. Is quarterback Sam Darnold poised to have a big year in year 3?
Well, it's going to be interesting because the Jets right now have a lot of new faces, especially up front, and I've been impressed with that offensive line, so that's going to help Sam Darnold. On the outside, Brashad Perryman, who we're going to talk about later, has really popped in training camp. We know about Jameson Crowder. I think the tight ends are very deep once you get Ryan Griffin back on the field. Chris Herndon's starting to make plays. Who is going to be lining up across from Perryman is a key question. But as far as a jump is concerned, Adam Gase said yesterday something very interesting. Said, maybe we don't have the big names at the skill positions, but I really like this group. And you think about what's behind Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, Frank Gore. This is an interesting group. I think the Jets like where they're at camp, and they're awfully confident because of that guy right there, number 14. And you love to see that. That's Jordan Jenkins having fun with Sam Darnold.
A lot of fun.
2 of the leaders on this team. And there's just a vibe here where everybody has great energy and they're enjoying it. They're enjoying being out on the field and being together. But Sam Darnold, Jordan Jenkins, those are the shots that you want to see.
Those are the things that you love to see. Another young player that is really making his name known as coming back into training camp this year, defensive lineman Quinn Williams, who is in his 2nd year with the Jets. He was the 3rd overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. He got his feet a little wet last year. He did suffer an ankle injury that kept him sidelined for a few games. However, when he came into training camp this year, he came into some of the best shape he said he's ever been in. I think this is a trend we're starting to see with some of these Jets players, but he said he made it a goal to be stronger, faster, and just in better shape heading into training camp. That way, he can focus more on his technique in year 2. What are we expecting from Quinn Williams in year 2?
Well, the big thing for him, and we've said it for a number of guys now, is staying healthy. You feel bad for him. You felt bad for him during his rookie season because he was dealing with that ankle issue. He never used that as an excuse. He played 13 games last season, 31 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks. But his confidence is through the roof. That's what he said when he talked to the media yesterday. You mentioned about a transformed body. Well, during the offseason, Quinn Williams was pushing SUVs.
Yeah, he was.
I'd love to jump into the SUV and let him push me. I mean, what I thought about Quinn early on last year was maybe a little bit of baby fat. He said his body fat is down. In the meeting rooms, the guys are talking about, Henry Anderson said, he's asking the right questions now. Sam Darnold talked about, this guy can be a very good player in this league and explosive. He's got a very good personality. Unique skills, Liv, because he's got such a low center of gravity. And he can create pressure up the middle. Quarterbacks in the National Football League don't like pressure up the middle because that changes everything for them. And if Quinn Williams takes a step in year 2, that defensive line is going to be even that much better. and you love the talent and the rotation they already have there.
Yeah, and a lot of players, some of his teammates, have praised Quinn Williams. Henry Anderson spoke to the media the other day, defensive lineman. He talked about how he sees a lot of potential in Quinn Williams and how he did come into camp in very good shape, and it was noticeable. Now, on the other side of the ball, offensive lineman Mckay Becton, when he was asked, who are some of the toughest defensive players you've been up against at camp so far? He said Jordan Jenkins, linebacker Jordan Jenkins, and defensive lineman Quinn Williams. What does that say about what he's doing on the practice field?
Well, he's impressed the guys. The bottom line is most of the time he's on that interior, so he's facing guys like Conor Mcgovern or Greg Van Roten or Alex Lewis. But the offensive line, that's one thing that struck me that Darnold said, is the offensive line is talking about the improvement in what they've seen from Quinn Williams. And Anderson has said he has everything you want in an elite defensive lineman. Okay, so he has that kind of ability. There was a reason he was the number 3 overall selection in the draft. He showed flashes last year. You want to see consistency, and you mentioned Quinn and you mentioned
Mckay Becton.
Yeah, Becton.
Yep.
Andre Carter said that he's showing more flex around the edge, but he's a guy who really can help your pass rush internally.
We're going to take it back to the offensive side of the ball. Earlier we talked about quarterback Sam Darnold. But what about the players he's throwing the ball to? Let's now take it down to the field to team reporter Ethan Greenberg, who is standing by for this segment of Field Pass presented by Toyota. Ethan, welcome. What can you tell us about wide receiver Breshad Perriman?
Yeah, Liv, well, I think the chemistry that's been built here early on between Breshad Perriman and Sam Darnold has been extremely impressive, especially when you consider the lack of spring reps. Darnold yesterday said that Perriman has everything you want in a wide receiver. He's got size at 6'1", he's got some frame at 215 pounds, and he's got speed to burn. Those two guys have connected on 2 long touchdowns. And I want to highlight yesterday's touchdown, which you may see later in the show as a little teaser, but those two guys connected on a long catch and run. And Adam Gase in the offseason, along with Joe Douglas, said they're in the market for explosive playmakers, not necessarily your vertical burners, but guys that can take a quick slant and take it the distance. And yesterday, Sam Darnold hit Perriman for a rather short completion when you think about air yards, probably about 10 to 15. But Perriman turned on the burners and ran up the sideline, and that is what the Jets are hoping to see more in 2020. And you think about Perriman towards the end of last season, weeks 13 to 17 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Top 5 wide receiver in football, at least statistically. Yes, he had more opportunity, but he made the most of them. 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards, tied for 1st with 5 touchdowns, and that is what the Jets are hoping he can continue to build on here in 2020.
Ethan, 14 catches of 20-plus yards in weeks 13 through 17 for Perriman last year as a Buccaneer, and he became only one of 7 players in the National Football League to have streaks of 3 or more 100-yard receiving games last season. Have you been impressed how quickly he's picked up the system, considering, like you talked about, the Jets did not have the ability to be on the field in the spring, and this is his 4th offense. And he still is a young guy, but there are late bloomers in the National Football League, and I think if you're a Jet fan or if you are a part of this coaching staff in this organization, you ought to be delighted by what you've seen from Perriman so far.
The short answer to your first question, have I been impressed with how quickly he's been able to pick it up? The short answer is yes, because this is a guy who first met Sam Darnold virtually, of course, on the phone. Sam Darnold said after the Jets signed him, Darnold called Perriman, and then, of course, they met up in Florida along with the rest of the skills players for the first time, and all their meetings have been virtual. This is the first time that we've been able to see Sam Darnold physically complete a pass to Breshad Perriman. And I think if you're a Jets fan, you have to be very encouraged by what you're seeing. Not only the 2 long touchdowns, but there's been a number of other catches. It seems so far that Breshad Perriman has quickly been able to pick up this offense. Adam Gase said when they reported to camp day 1 and they were going through walkthroughs, Breshad Perriman was able to quickly line up where he needed to go, really proved how much he dove into the playbook over the course of the offseason. And you mentioned it, EA, sometimes it takes a little while to find your footing in the NFL, and wide receivers coach Sean Jefferson said he gives credit to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers staff because he feels like they were the staff to to finally use Brashad Perriman correctly when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin went down in Florida.
Thank you, Ethan, for that segment of Field Pass presented by Toyota. We'll hear back from Ethan a little later on in the show. But speaking of wide receivers, they have been a group that has suffered early and often in the injury department in this early stages of training camp. With week 1 looming right around the corner, they aren't the only group that have suffered with some injuries. When we take a look at some of the injuries that have popped up in some of these names, what stands out to you about this injured list?
Yeah, as we're going to take a look right now, there are a number of guys on that report per se, but Adam Gase sounds very optimistic that they're going to get a couple guys back here later this week, and he's hoping they get a bunch of those players back next week. So those are all positive. Vincent Smith, we no longer list him here because he just had core surgery. He's going to be out 5 to 8 weeks. But let's talk about the cornerback position just a little bit. Brian Poole, he's suffering from dehydration, so he's missed the last couple of workouts. He's going to have to do some work on the side. This is something he suffered through last year, so the Jets are going to have to take proper protocols. He plays a very critical position on this defense. He can line up a lot of places, but most of the time you're going to see him at that nickel position. Another guy who you anticipate is going to be a starting cornerback for the Jets on the outside, of course, is Pierre Desir, a former Indianapolis Colt. He's dealing with a hamstring issue right now. So we'll have to monitor his progress. You're hoping he's able to get on the field sooner than later. He's one of those guys that is closer, nearing a return. Finally, yesterday, unfortunately, we were out of practice. We saw an injury on the offensive line. Conor Mcdermott, a reserve tackle. He went down with a knee injury, was scheduled to get an MRI. We'll find out about the results today, I'm sure, from Adam Gase.
Hoping nothing but good things on McDermott's part. But again, that was the training camp injury update presented by Atlantic Health System. When we take a look at that list, a lot of names that pop up are some rookies, some new guys. Now, when some of these rookies on that list, that means that only a few guys who were drafted are able to actually practice on this practice field. With week 1 right around the corner, how can this affect the rookie class and their ability to learn when adjusting to the NFL?
Well, you're hoping Mims is back on the field soon because he can get into that competition on the outside. Denzel Mims, of course, second-round pick, number 59 overall. Bryce Hall is in the COVID program right now. And also after that, he would have to pass some tests on his ankle. So we'll have to see how far away Hall is from actually returning. He seems like a longer-term guy. Cameron Clark, unfortunately, he's got the shoulder injury. He's considered week to week. Rookie Jabari Zaninga out of Florida dealing with a quad injury. A couple of the guys who have made their presence known on the field. We've talked about Mckay Becton a lot here early in training camp. Been one of the most impressive players, as has this guy with the red on his helmet right there. That's Ashton Davis, fabulous athlete. He's getting some run at the safety position, of course, on the defensive side of the ball, but expect him to be a core special teamer under Brant Boyer. He's a tough guy. He is fast. There's a lot of things he can do. Opening day, you could see him lining up on all 4 special teams units and getting defensive snaps because he's got that kind of ability. I think Greg Williams is the kind of guy who's going to throw a lot at Ashton Davis early in his career to see how much he can take and then put out there on the field. In fact, Becton said he's got understanding the playbook a little bit more now that he has the ability to get out there and implement those things on the football field. Unfortunately,
injuries are always part of the game, but when you look at the rookie class, especially, you want to be able to get them implemented because the season, the preseason especially, has been cut so short. There were no preseason games, so it's important to be able to get them back on the field when they are fully healthy. You mentioned Ashton Davis, who has stood out to you on the defense, but which one of these other rookies has caught your eye during training camp?
Well, it all starts with Becton, but Braden Mann, we don't hear often about the punters, but he was the best punter in the college football last season. He's a guy who's going to help this team, I think, in the fall and then in the winter. That rookie, don't forget about him. And then I'll tell you what, the Jets are stacked at the running back position because Le'Veon Bell, we talked about how he's come into camp in great shape, and he is an elite running back in the NFL. Frank Gore looks like he's 25, and he sure runs out there on the field every day like he's 25. He's got so much enthusiasm. There's Braden Mann right now. But LaMichael Pirine out of Florida, he's flashed as well when we're talking about the offensive backfield. Here's a guy, a tough runner. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and we saw that at yesterday's practice. So I've been impressed with all those guys who've been able to get on the field, starting with Becton, Ashton Davis, Braden Mann. We've seen some booms from him. And LaMichael Pirine, I don't know how many reps he's going to get offensively, but he'll be prepared, and he can play this game.
Let's head back down to the field and get some insight from the voice of the New York Jets, Bob Wischusen. Bob, good morning. Thank you for joining us this Thursday. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. This is weird. Is this not like the weirdest thing that you've ever done professionally, right? It's just so weird being here, and there's no people here. I've never come to training camp where there isn't the hooting and the hollering and the Jet fans having a great time, and so we'll just all keep saying prayers we get a chance to get back to normal soon.
Hey, Shoes, did you bring your Jets mask today? What kind of mask do you have?
They gave me this, so like there
So
I did get
something.
some free stuff, but no. They gave me a black. I didn't even get a logo mask.
Okay, we got to work on
Normally
that.
you'd think
That's
if it's
all right.
free, it's for me. Yeah, I'm sure that's probably a prominent page now on jetshop.com, so I have to visit.
Well, Bob, let's dive a little bit deeper into what you're going to do. You're the voice of the New York Jets, and you do play-by-play for ESPN. How is this pandemic going to affect the way you call games this year? Be careful,
we're not
there's
on the
someone
road.
coming up behind you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all right. I'm used to it. Normally, where I hit my golf ball, the maintenance crew is nearby, so that doesn't throw me at all. We're not traveling, and that includes ESPN for a lot of our crews. If you watch Sunday Night Baseball, you've got Matt Vasgersian and Alex Rodriguez. I mean, that's the #1 baseball show on ESPN, and they're basically sitting at a makeshift sports center desk calling the game off of monitors because in the world that we live in right now, the fewer people in an airport, on a plane, in a stadium, out, and about is a good thing. So, yeah, this is going to be a really strange year. We'll be at the stadium for all the home games. Makes sense, obviously. No danger there with no one being at the stadium. They can always find a place for us to do the game from. But for road games, I'm not 100% sure where exactly we're going to be. But just like the baseball teams, just like watching the guys calling the Islanders playoff games right now from a studio in New York, we will do the same thing. So it's going to be just the weirdness of this year is going to continue, and hopefully, boy, just by the time we get past the new year, hopefully we start to get back to normal.
Shoes, we could talk about how this is all impacting us for hours, but let's get to a little bit of normal and talk about football. The Jets off season, most notably, Joe Douglas strikes that big deal with the Seattle Seahawks. What did you think about Jamal Adams being sent out west and the package Joe Douglas got back that includes 2 first-round picks? So the Jets, between 2021 and 2022, they have 4 first-round picks now.
Yeah, to me, you had a player that was screaming from the rooftops that he didn't want to be here. So you can't keep him here. In the ultimate team game, you can't have a guy that everybody on the team in the locker room is looking at saying you're supposed to be our best player and our leader and you don't want to be here. A, so that had to, I think, be the jumping off point. And B, he got borderline quarterback compensation for a safety that wants to be paid right now. That is, to me, unheard of. I can't imagine that he got basically everything that everyone said he couldn't get for Jamal Adams. So it was something that had to be done, and it was a success. But you can't sugarcoat it for a Jets fan. Without C.J. Mosley, who you know now has opted out for the year, and without Jamal Adams, your defense is, handicapped compared to what it was 3 weeks ago. You lost your 2 best players. Now, having said that, last year, you basically didn't have C.J. Mosley the entire year. Jamal Adams didn't play at least a part of the season. Marcus May was the only one of the 11 starters that played and was active for every game. And still look what Greg Williams did production-wise with the Jet defense. So I agree with Joe Douglas. They're not punting on the season because they made the move they made. But you can't not look at the trade and realize what the wider angle lens version of this is for the general manager. I mean, I know Jet fans don't want to hear the word rebuild, but the last 2 rebuilds didn't work. That's the reality that Joe Douglas is living in. So he is trying his own version of a rebuild, and that's what that trade is about. When you're bringing back draft picks and you're not bringing back, Jamal Adams-esque level players right now, it's about the future. But I can't imagine anyone knowing the hand that he was dealt with what Jamal Adams, was right now. The stance he was taking with the Jets, can't look at that trade as anything short of a success.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, on the offensive side of the ball, you've got a quarterback in Sam Darnold who is in his 3rd year. And you talked about Joe Douglas. He went to work this offseason and completely rebuilt the offensive line. How much success do you expect Sam Darnold to have this year with the new offensive line?
Well, if you go back during the offseason and look at all of the quarterback prognosticators, the draft gurus, the guys, I'm going to rank every offense in the NFL. Look at where they all cumulatively have ranked Sam Darnold as a quarterback. They have guys that haven't taken a snap yet in the NFL, like Tua and Joe Burrow ranked ahead of Sam Darnold in terms of where they would rank NFL quarterbacks right now. To me, there is no quarterback in the NFL that I think has a brighter future and is being talked about less flatteringly than Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is a $20 stock right now selling for $1. So, to me, he's the last problem the Jets have to worry about. The idea that if they have a tough year this year, they're going to be packaging picks to go get Trevor Lawrence. You tell me right now who the Jet quarterback is in 5 years, I would bet my house that it's Sam Darnold. So I think he's going to go out and have, even without them spending a ton of money on the skill positions, I think he is going to go out this year and have a tremendous season. And I think by the time the year is over, and I'm not even talking about like what the record is or what I think his numbers are, I think you'll just watch him play, and by the time we get to the end of the season, assuming he stays healthy, everyone will say, the Jets have their quarterback for the next decade.
And I'll tell you what, if that happens, this team and this organization is set up for success in the short term and the long term, because we just talked about that draft capital, and they have money. The way he set up these deals in the offseason, prove-it deals as far as the way he tacked free agency. The Jets have a lot of flexibility moving forward. Shoes, final question here. Yannick was trending, the defensive end, outside linebacker from the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday on Twitter. A lot of people anticipate that he will be traded. Should the Jets have any interest?
Sure. Of course. I mean, why would you not have interest in a guy that right now would check a huge box on your roster? But I think they will do it if they get the right price for it. And I think that the Jamal Adams trade showed what Joe Douglas is willing to hold out to try and do and get. So, to me, and I think it kind of plays into the theme you talked about with the offensive line and what they spent on the offensive line, all those prove-it deals. I think Joe Douglas has sent the message that I am going to do what I think is right for this organization and is going to last 3, 4, 5 years down the road. The Jets, let's be honest, they are not a player away from the Super Bowl. He knows that. That's why he traded Jamal Adams for draft choices and not players right now. So do I think that that is a possibility for the Jets? Absolutely. But I think Joe Douglas sitting around with, with Rex Hogan and the guys around the table, they will put a price on what they think Yannick Ngakoue is worth and what he means to their team now. But they're not going to handicap themselves down the road for when they are able to fill out the rest of the holes on their roster and he's still here, how good of a team they can be. So the way I look at it is they will have their price, and if it's met, they'll do it, but I don't think they're going to overpay.
Hey, Le'Veon Bell came to camp at 4% body fat. What body fat are you at?
40, yada, yada.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks,
we really
Shoes.
appreciate it.
See you guys.
All right. Well, thanks again to Bob Wischusen, voice of the Jets, on his insights with some of the Jets' offseason moves. But now we're going to switch gears a little bit. Right now we're looking at the offensive and defensive lines facing off there. And a little training camp battle. You got to love it, right, EA?
Yeah, it's Conor Mcgovern going against Steve McClendon here. This is what you love to see. Those are two veterans going to play key positions for you this year, and two leaders. McGovern's coming in here anticipating, you anticipate that he's going to be the starting center opening day. McClendon is the top leader, maybe in this entire locker room. 34 years old, keeps himself in such tremendous shape. Works out like he's 18, the prime of his life. We're talking about Quinn Williams before. Here's Quinn Williams going against Alex Lewis.
Tough battle.
Yep. And steel sharpens steel, right? So you got Frank Pollock there with the mask on, coaching him up. Alex Lewis is going to play left guard for you this season. And there is Quinn Williams. We'll just watch.
We've been seeing a lot.
Oh, look at that move,
see
and he
that
gets
move,
to
that
the
little
inside.
swim move.
Yeah, he gets to the inside there, and that's the kind of explosion Quinn Williams has, and that just gives you a taste of what we're seeing out here at the Jets training camp.
That's what he was talking about the other day when he said that now that he's come into training camp in very good shape, now he can finally just focus on technique, and it looks like that's what he's doing.
Yeah, we got to stay here for a second. But they're saying, get off of this. We got Mckay Becton and Jordan Jenkins now on the edge. There's the big man, and then Jordan.
Looks like Jordan maybe got the best of him in that one.
Listen, Mckay, if he gets his hands on you, you are done. I mean, the bottom line is he casts a shadow on any man out there. But Jordan Jenkins has had his way with him a couple of times. I know most notably we talked about the other day he got to the inside and things like that. But these are the battles that I love here at camp that we're able to go out and watch each and every day, and we're able to show you this. Jordan went wide there, so it's tough to say. They're going to have to go back in the film room and take a look at the win. But what you're trying to see is let's build technique. Let's also compete against each other, and those one-on-ones are always some of my favorite drills in practice because the competition is there, the coaching, the hands-on. That's how you get better. And we're in full pads today.
Let's now move on to our final segment of the show. We are going to do a top 5 best moments of training camp so far. We're going to bring in team reporter Ethan Greenberg back in the show. Ethan, you ready to do some top 5 moments?
I was looking forward to this all show long, Liv. Let's do it.
I'm going to count them down starting at number 5. We're going to run some video and see some of the best moments in training camp so far. Not plays, moments. All right, number 5. Let's roll it. Says number 4, but we're going to go number 5. There we go.
We're counting up.
Coming in at number 5, we've got the linebacker.
Check them out now.
Well, Jabari Ninga's birthday. They're making him carry helmets off the field. It's all in good fun, but I got a problem here because the SEC guy, Jordan Jenkins, is going at a guy from Florida. Of course, I am a Gator alum, so I got you, Jabari.
Yeah, I knew you were going to mention that.
I got you, Jabari. We got to send you a better birthday gift than that, you carrying helmets off the field, but all in good fun. Everybody's having a good fun.
All right, let's take a look at number 4. Coming in at number 4. Sam Darnold. And this is a dime. Him and I believe this is going to be Perriman. Oh, no. Excuse me. This is going to be a pass breakup by safety Marcus May. Ethan, what are your initial thoughts on this one?
Well, it's not only this play. It's a very nice play by Marcus May. But those two guys have been going at it back and forth throughout practice. Chris Herndon actually and Marcus May, that's one of the battles I'm looking forward to going up against one another. I think they're going to make each other better, but that's a nice showcase of Marcus May in coverage.
A hell of a play, and I liked it at Dikembe Mutombo. No. But
No.
Chris Herndon is back at camp. He's healthy. He's making plays out there, and that's the kind of things that you want to see. Again, those guys going at it.
You mentioned steel sharpens steel.
Yeah,
there we go.
and May's displaying his range and also the ability to find the football. Nice play there.
All right, number 3, we're going to have the veteran, Frank Gore, coming in at number 3. You know, we talked about him a little bit earlier, but he's really made his name known on that field already in his 16th season. Look at the way he bull rushes into the end zone and the celebration. There it is. Frank Gore, ladies and gentlemen.
Liv, I feel like we need some Chris Berman here, rumbling, tumbling, fumbling all the way to the end zone.
I think that would be appropriate, but you provided the commentary, so I appreciate it.
That's a 37-year-old man. That's how he approaches training camp. God bless him. And that sets the tone for everybody else. You don't think this matters to Frank Gore? And Bradley McDougald, by the way, very good player, but it's tough sometimes. When Gore's sniffing the end zone like he was there, he was not to be denied.
All right, coming in at number 2, this one was seen all over the internet, all over Twitter. Safety Ashton Davis. We talked about him a little bit. Let's roll number 2 here. He really displays his athleticism here. I'm sorry. Can you do a backflip, let alone catch a ball while doing a backflip? Because I can't even do a cartwheel.
This really bothers me. This bothers me.
Oh, no.
Because you're asking me if I can do that? I don't know how many people in the world can do that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say to this is, what? I mean, it's just crazy that he's able to have the concentration to, 1, do a backflip just from flat-footed, and then 2, catch a ball. Yeah, I mean, I'll be lucky if I have a quarter, maybe 2% of the athleticism that Davis has.
I'd be happy just to catch the ball and then go down after that. The athleticism Ashton Davis has is off the chart, and sometimes the best moments come after practice. And this is him getting some work after practice.
All right, number 1. This is the one that we've all been waiting for. Number 1, we've counted down all the way from 5, but this one, oh, here we go. Sam Darnold completion to Brashad Perriman. This is the completion and the things that the people want to see.
Oh, and there I am watching in that zone. Listen, sub 4.4 speed, and the 2 top offensive plays in training camp. That Gore touchdown was really impressive. I don't know, but Perriman had a 50-plus yarder inside, and then this one, he's going over the middle on what typically is a short completion. But he separated from Arthur Millette, and he was off to the races. And that is the kind of big play ability that can change the Jets' offense last year, because Greens, instead of matriculating the ball down the field with 12 or 15 play drives, Perriman is a guy who can get you into the end zone, and he can get you into the end zone quick.
Yeah, I think that was a great example of what he can bring in. How about the little ball spin at the end there, a little spice for Perriman?
All right, well, thank you so much, Ethan. We're going to wrap up the show now. That was our top 5 moments of Training Camp Live. But that's all we have on Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System. Although we will not be live for the rest of the week, we will be back in BetMGM Studio next week, and we'll have all the updates for you, latest on Jets training camp throughout the rest of this weekend on NewYorkJets.com and all of our social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.